All right, we'll pass the seventh tradition basket. All right. Carl, I want to remind you, watch this podium that kind of walks off. So that you don't. Yeah. All right. I've asked a good friend of mine, Karl, and I've known Karl since he's been in the program, and he's a good person, good AA member, friend of ours. Without further ado, I'll give my friend Karl from New Knoxville, Ohio.
Karl, I'll call it.
Hi, Karl.
Yeah, great reading today, daily reflections. I know I gave a couple of recent leads, and just here to tell what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, and I might jump around a lot, being this podium. Yeah, my sobriety date's October 1st, 2003. Since that time, I haven't made the stupid idea or the crazy, insane idea of thinking that a drink would help me. And I'm grateful for that, thanks to my higher power. Fitting in, I was sitting over there a little bit ago, and it just hit me about fitting in at a fitness room. And people accept me for who I am. And that's what I love about this fellowship. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, where you've been. If you want a way out, they'll help you. And a lot of people have given me a lot of help over the years. I like to say I started when I was first introduced to the fellowship. I didn't stay sober. It was about 1989, and from 89 to 2003, I bounced in and out. And the longest I stayed out there in that time frame was about 7 years of a dry drunk. And but I just never felt like I fit in as a kid, as a person, at home, at school. Decided that the military would help me solve that. I still had that same feeling. I showed up there. Those same feelings showed up with me. One thing that kind of took away that loneliness was the first time that I got drunk. I grew up around alcohol, but the first time we were setting up for Mom and Dad's 25th wedding anniversary, and I had to impress my brothers. And so I ended up drinking until I blacked out, passed out, and woke up puking. And to me, I thought that was normal. I thought that's what everybody did. I thought that's how you drank. Don't know where that thought came from other than the disease. So I chased that for a long time. And I didn't drink every day, but I sure thought, when's the next time I can drink again? And then in the military, it blossomed. I was only 17 when I went in, and the first chance that I had to drink, I ended up blacking out and passing out, and there I was again. So it was about in 1990. I came back from the service. I was good at geographical cures, really, and the heat started getting to me, and it was time to move on. So I decided to come back home. And when I came back home, I moved in with my parents, and before that, I came home. The Air Force sent me to treatment, and so my parents thought that I had quit drinking, but I had drank before I came home, and I always hid my drinking. Lived with them for about 3 weeks, and I moved in with my brother, and he didn't care if I drank, but I hid it from him. And then I ended up buying the place from him, and was the insanity of the disease. The only person living in the place, and I had to hide my drinking. And, you know, I come home. I worked time at that time worked at Crown, and I was just like, well, I need to go get a six pack. Well, that six pack just never did it. So, but that was my excuse. And but then I thought, well, I can't stop that place because Dad knows them. I can't stop at that place because they know my brother. You know, and it was all in my mind. Um, so I would go someplace out of the way that no one knew me, and buy the beer. And then when I get home, I'd hide it because I couldn't start drinking. Because what if Mom and Dad, they live 5 minutes away? What if they decided to stop over? So the insanity of hiding it down in the barn and not even putting it on ice, just sticking it in the barn. And then 10, 11 o'clock at night, thinking, okay, they're in bed. They're not going to stop over at this time. I'm safe to drink. And again, I lived by myself. Um, and I didn't worry about it being cold or warm. So I had met a friend from the fellowship who's no longer here. He died sober, thank God, Handlebar Rick. And he took me to meetings, and this was one of the meetings he brought me to, was Coldwater. And showed me where all the meetings were at between Auglaize County, Mercer County, and up in Lima. Um, but I bounced in and out, and I know I was about 3 years sober and decided that I needed another geographical cure. In that meantime, I got married to Sue, and decided I was going to leave her and pack up and go to a friend's house in West Virginia and get a divorce. Now, I was never raised that way, but for whatever reason, that's where the insane thinking took me. And when I went down to West Virginia, my friend told me that if I went back, got a divorce, and wanted to start over, I was more welcome to come back. But I had to go back and get a divorce first. So I drove my butt back here, dragging back to, at that time, we lived in St. Mary's. And before I went down to West Virginia, I was about 3 years sober. I had a sponsor, and I'd use him just enough to get the heat off my back, and ended up telling myself that I'm going to drive back, and I'm going to not tell anyone that I drank. I just won't pick up any tokens, and just pick up where I left off, and that didn't work. A couple of days later, I went and talked to my sponsor, and he politely told me, he said, if you're not an alcoholic, why you keep coming back to Alcoholics Anonymous? And that's when something started to change inside of me. I often refer to it as the duh moment. And so I came back and started back with Ernest, going with meetings with that same sponsor. And I need to back up a little bit. About 95, I met Sue in 94, and we got married in 95. And I was thinking that's when I wasn't going to meetings. I was thinking that all I needed was to be married, and that would help me. And I hid the drinking from her. And again, I hid it at work. They didn't know my issues with alcohol. And I would go away for training and end up getting drunk. And the whole time worried about, well, what if they find out? And that was just stuff in my head. And just the insanity. So I'm sorry I'm jumping around. So I don't know, it was that night back in end of September before October 1st that when I talked to my sponsor, I just slowly started getting back into things and going to meetings and shutting up and showing up. And one thing led to another, and man, meetings, kind of lost my train of thought. They say it's part of the grieving process because I lost Sue back in August, so my mind is jumping around, and I do apologize for that. But you know, thank God. One thing I got from this fellowship is I got a disease, and I didn't ask for it, but I got it. It was one of those things. The disease was around before I even started drinking. I think it was in Freedom of Bondage. She talks about that. I didn't react normally to emotional situations. I definitely wouldn't be standing up here in front of you in a room full of people talking. I thought I'd never do that. And then once I started drinking, having that craving and obsession of when's the next time I can drink, that slowly started to subside. Now, I'd like to say that I was sitting in meetings and I was like, man, when's the next time that I'm not going to think about taking a drink? Or when's the next time that I'm going to have another dumbass attack and think that I could drink? And that obsession started to slowly slide away, thanks to this fellowship and my sponsor and working the steps. Yeah, it was just kept putting one foot in front of the other. A lot of help from this fellowship. People accept me for who I am and not telling me you're drunk, get out of here, you're a loser. No one ever said that. They said if you want what we have, keep coming back, keep doing what we have done. And thank God for the steps and the fellowship, because I really don't know where I'd be, either drunk or dead. And yeah, it's just it's been amazing. One of the hardest things is dealing with Sue's death. But one thing that's hit me is I don't have to take a drink over it. And there was one brief thought of getting a drink, and I shook that out of my head. I woke the committee up, me, myself, and I shook them around, said, no, that's not the answer. I called somebody, went to a meeting. And I'm grateful that I haven't had that thought. And when I do, because I'm human, when I get that thought pops in my head, remember what it is. It's just a disease waiting for me, and I don't have to partake in it, and I don't have to think about it, and I can talk about it, get it out, and share with somebody. In sobriety, I was about 4 years sober, and Sue became pregnant, and we now have a 16-year-old son. And thank God he hasn't seen me drunk, he hasn't seen me drink, and I don't have to hide anything. The way I feel, because there's some anger, the anger subsiding again, and but I could tell him, hey, I'm having a bad day today. And or he'll come to me and say, hey, Dad, I'm having a bad day. I'm missing Mom. And in a way, I share with him what I heard around the rooms, and say it'll be okay. And one thing we try to ask each other is, we try not to ask each other, hey, how you doing today? Because our response is not very nice and so we try to not ask each other, hey, how you doing today? But we end up asking each other, how are you doing today? And then we chuckle before we start yelling at each other. And so the fellowship is here, and it was here before I got here, and I hope to God it's here after I leave here. And I do believe the fellowship will be around, and it's helping me through anything, through everything. Like I said, I never thought I wouldn't be angry. And the anger, like I said, has subsided, and most days I'm not angry, pissed off at the world. And I don't have to blame anybody for what happens to me today, because I was one of those people, when I drank, I would use any excuse to drink. And if Dan pissed me off, it was Dan's fault that I was getting drunk. And I'm not picking on you, Dan, I just,
I understand.
so, but now, I have that, if I'm having a bad day, I can remember something that Dan said, shared at a meeting, or, anybody else in the room, and don't have to go there, so, yeah, it's a hell of a lot better than it was. And I don't know if I'm making sense, but I love this fellowship to death, and I just keep coming back, and I hope I keep coming back. Um, I don't know. I guess that's all I got, Gary. So thank you. Oh, thanks. How could I forget that?
I want to thank you for a good lead. Thought that first time you drank, you blacked out. I'd like to relate to that. And then from then on, it was all downhill. Got a little time, we'll just open it up. Anybody wants to make a comment, we'll just open it up.
Name's Tom, I'll go ahead.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Well, Kent, you were very humble, and that was a humble leader, you gave all credit to Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's what it's done.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, I'm Richard Alcoholic.
Hey, Richard.
Thanks,
Hey,
Karl.
Richard.
I heard you before. A couple things I can relate to, actually. The military kind of amping up your alcoholism. Same thing happened with me. I used to do the geographic. I did the geographic because that's how I got here. Things weren't very good where I was living, so I just up and, I was smart about it. I did it the right way because I was sober at the time. But that's what I ended up doing. And I used to do it all over the country, Tennessee, Washington State, wherever. But I can relate to the geographic cures, what you went through with your wife. I went through with my daughter, losing my daughter. And me and you have a lot in common to deal with that. And I appreciate you sharing, and let I'll pass.
Thanks, Richard.
I'm Dwayne, alcoholic.
Hey,
Dwayne.
Dwayne.
Karl, good lady, I've heard you before, and sorry with your loss of your wife. And I just lost my mother last Saturday night, so. But I never even thought about a drink, and that's a good thing, because it sure as hell ain't gonna let him bring her back. But it's tough. You just gotta realize life goes on. And I stopped seeing my dad because he's in the nursing home yet. And him and my uncle were sitting there listening to other Marion football games, so I know he's a good hands. He's doing what they always enjoyed together, and now he's enjoying it with his brother-in-law. And my sister and her husband and daughter were up there, and my sister said, "Man, today it really hit me." I said, "Well, it's coming on a week, so." And I said, she was a great mom, and it's going to hit us sooner or later. But one thing about it, a drink will never make it any better, and that's definitely reinforced by what Richard said and you said in your lead. And Gary's told me that. And, you just got to buckle down and get to a meeting when you feel, you feel something coming on. So with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Hey, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne.
I'm Jim, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jim.
Thanks, Karl. Always good to hear you. And I just got it's good to see you as more often like we've been seeing you play, and I just always really look forward to hearing you speak when I do see you at a meeting. You were one of the people that showed me the way when I came in pretty broken 10 years ago. You were one of the guys that were soft spoken, but when you did speak, people listened, and I knew you were gonna dig deep, and it was gonna be something from your heart. And I, a day at a time, that's how I learned to get sober, watching guys like you. So thanks for that. Thanks, tonight.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Master, I'm a recovered addict.
Yes.
I really just wanted to say thank you for your service. You're a great man. Same with you. I'll come around. You're both great men. You're very strong.
Thanks, Ash.
God's power. My name's Dave, I'm now.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
I wanna thank you, Carl, once again, for helping me learn to understand that even today, there's a better way. For our trials and our tribulations, and God only knows, I think you and I have shared a lot of those. Gone down a lot of roads, I couldn't understand in the beginning how you would go down roads that getting out of yourself and go pick up another suffering individual was miles and miles away from where we lived, and why you would ask me to even come along with you for such a long ride. But I understood why we had those long rides. We needed to have a fellowship. We need to share with each other. And we kind of adopted that as friends along the way, and there's been times that I needed you and vice versa, and seemed to help each other get through a lot of the hard times, none other than the fellowship. We had our own little meetings inside the car, traveling, picking up other suffering individuals. I appreciate you and always have, and I'm so grateful you're still here, and glad to be sitting here listening to you again tonight. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Dave.
Anybody else?
I'm Brad, I'm an alcoholic.
Brad.
I wanna thank you, Carl, I wanna thank you for being there 11.5 years ago when I come in. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you were at that agreement meeting, and that just helped me tremendously. And I never knew what it was about you, and then somebody mentioned it, you were always calm. You just always at peace and peaceful and calm, and I don't know, we had a lot of good meetings, and we got to know each other pretty good. And then I drifted away, and I don't know, then I come back and I never seen you around, and I don't know, you taught me so much in the beginning, and what I needed to do, and what was expected of me, and the things that was gonna happen as long as I started living one day at a time. And I really appreciate that, and I wanna thank you for being my friend.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad.
Miranda, alcoholic.
Hi, Miranda.
Thanks for your lead, Carl. Sorry about your loss. One thing I think is really cool that you mentioned in your lead tonight was the fact that some of the stuff that you brought home to your son in the program, because that's the kind of stuff that I want to do with my kids. My youngest two hasn't seen me use or drink or anything, so I thought that was really cool that you brought that up. Thank you.
Thanks,
Hey, Miranda.
Miranda.
Jerry, alcoholic.
Jerry.
Carl, I never heard your lead. As you know, I throw a lot of souls out on number every Sunday. And I still think about her. She's a good gal. Thank you for hanging in there. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry.
I'm Mitch, I'm an alcoholic.
Mitch.
I was really excited to hear your lead, Carl. My son kind of started acting a fool and had to give him get some rest. And I'll hear it some other time, I hope, man, because you're a really good guy and I like seeing you at meetings. That's all I got.
Thanks,
Mitch.
Mitch.
My name's Wes, I'm an
Hey,
alcoholic.
Wes.
Hi, Wes.
Thanks, Carl. It's really good to see you around more. I can get a lot to add to conversations in this community in general, and the way you model work in a program, and it's just nice to see you here. And next time I want to hear more about how you build a spiritual life, and how you do, how you I don't know what you do on a daily basis, and I'm going to tips because I think you got what I want. Thanks.
Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
Well, I'm a Garrett alcoholic.
Gary.
I knew Sue, and she was a good lady. I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. And she's a good lady. She didn't have to be an alcoholic to be good. She helped people, you know what I'm saying? That's what I remembered about her. You know, that's ungiving kindness that she had. You know, it's just, a lot of us have to become the alcoholics down before we learn to be kind. You know, so I just want to thank you for letting me know her. You, and you just keep coming back, Carl, do what you're supposed to do. Anybody else got anything? All right, Carl, you want to close the meeting with our Father?
Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Keep coming back. See you, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah.
short, sweet, and to the point.
See, you did do that the other day, when I didn't take my thing home.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Not so hard. Please, not so hard.